I'm going to show you these lists. I'm going to show you maps of the world, just a map of the world first, and then another map, where all these brewing conflicts and current conflicts, and since the lists were done, one of the brewing ones turned into an active one, if you might think about that for a moment. And I don't think any of the hot ones turned into brewing. With the world at war, with ongoing significant conflicts as of January 1st, 2006 through June 2006. United States worldwide war on terror versus, quote, terrorists with global reach. And it seems to have reached pretty far. In the Middle East, the Iraq government and multinational forces versus the Iraqi resistance and Al-Qaeda in Iraq. Israel versus Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, and others. Asia, Afghanistan, the Kabul government versus Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. India versus Manipur insurgents and others. The Philippines versus Abu Sayyaf. Nepal versus Maoist insurgents. Latin America, Colombia versus the National Liberation Army, and Colombia versus the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. In Europe, Russia versus Chechnya. In Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo versus indigenous insurgents and foreign renegades. Nigeria, ethnic and religious communal violence. Somalia, Somaliland, Puntland, and other factions. Sudan versus the Sudan Liberation Army and Justice and Equality Movement. And Uganda versus Lord's Army. Low-level political violence, or conflicts in suspension that may restart. In the Middle East, Iran versus the Kurds, since 1961, and Turkey versus the Kurds, since 1961. Israel versus Palestinian Authority, Israel versus Syria and Lebanon. In Asia, India versus Assam rebels, India versus the All-Part Hurriyat Conference, Kashmiri militants, India versus insurgents in Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura, and Nagaland. Myanmar, Burma, junta versus minorities, Indian Assam rebels, and National League for Democracy. People's Republic of China versus Uyghur East Turkestan Independence Movement. People's Republic of China versus Tibet. Philippines versus Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Philippines versus the New People's Army. Sri Lanka versus Tamil Eelam. Thailand versus Barisan Revolusi Nasional and Mujahideen Islam Patani. Africa, Cote d'Ivoire versus Army Rebels. Ethiopia versus Eritrea. Liberia versus Liberians United for Reconciliation and Democracy. Sudan versus the Sudanese People's Liberation Army. Zimbabwe, racial strife. In Europe, the Republic of Georgia versus Abkhazia and South Ossetia. In the Americas, Peru versus Sendero Luminoso. And the Haiti government versus former army and police factions and Aristide supporters. Now about these maps. This map is a map of the fragile planet we all share. We all have to live here. There is no other option. This is all we've got. Okay, now, this map is a map of where conflicts are right now, or at least through June 2006. The circular ones are current conflicts, and the rectangular ones are brewing conflicts. As you can see, there's plenty of conflict to go around, and there's not a lot of peace around. And even in the wide expanses of countries where you didn't see any marks, there's conflict. There were riots in France, and riots in Germany. There's police actions in several other places. It doesn't even mention Korea, which is kind of hot, I would say, right now. Those are just the biggies, but there's plenty of conflict to go around. The trick is to think about peace and to develop peace. Choose peace. There's always a choice. Choose peace. If the option is beating someone up or not, don't. If the option is firing a gun at what you believe is an enemy, they're your brother. They're your sister. You're my brother or sister. I'm your sister. We need this planet intact. If we don't start thinking peace, I'm afraid we won't have it intact. Well, that means that not only individuals have to think about peace, but governments have to think about peace, and companies have to think about peace. You know, if there's a way to make a buck out of war, there's got to be a way to make a buck out of peace, too. Just got to use your imagination. Think out of the box. Try it. Please. That little map with those countries, those continents, that's all we've got. Think peace. Choose peace.